Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. This time out we have a new piece of merchandise announced. So this is the DiamondSelect Toys Summer Preview. You can see it features Avatar, and straight away it's going to be another statue here. In this case it is the second Avatar The Last Airbender gallery diorama statue. So the first one we got is obviously this Aang, which was announced like a year ago at this point. It's meant to be coming out, the release date they have here is fall 2020. I have this one ordered, but it has been delayed. While wave 2 of the figures has finally got an official date, this statue hasn't quite, but it's getting there. So, you know, I'll have a review of this when it comes out, so you guys get a look at what these statues are like. Again, the price, you know, the $50 price point, they look really good, pretty tall, and this is going to be the second one of them. So it is Katara. So, okay, so yeah, they're talking about the increase in popularity due to Netflix, targeting a new generation of collectors. Well, I don't think it's just targeting a new generation of collectors. I think this is just targeting everyone in general, because like we don't really have that many statues of the other characters, and a lot of the ones that they did put out over the last like years before now were kind of general. Like it was just your standard, you know, book 1 Aang, standard book 1 Korra. Here's the like Aang statue from, you know, Korra, and then it's other sort of smaller ones. These seem like exactly what we've been asking for a while, so it's great to see them doing it. Approximately 9-inch tall diorama of Katara depicts her wielding her waterbending powers as she stands in the middle of a mini tsunami, made of high quality PVC. Detailed sculpting, paint applications, translucent water effects that catch the light. That sounds pretty cool. Packaged in a full color window box, designed by Uriel Catan and sculpted by Salvador Gomez. Again, $49.99. So the main difference between these two statues is that this one is 11 inches tall, but that's partly because I guess Aang is, you know, I guess he's holding his staff pretty high in the air, so it's probably 11 inches tall here and more like 9 inches tall overall, similar to the Katara. So let's take a closer look at the pictures here. And again, water effect looks incredible. I think that's probably the big thing that stands out on these figures, is that the detailing on the bending effects is the best we've seen. Much better than the DiamondSelect effect parts on their figures, of course. Of course, they're going to be able to do more complex stuff with it being a statue. And it's the same for Aang with the airbending pose. Like that looks incredible. It's part of the reason I bought this I ordered this figure, is just that it looks really, really good. And again, the sculpting on Katara herself is really strong. I really like the pose, that there's some kind of complexity going on up here. You can see she's taking water out of her, you know, pouches on her back, but there's also water underneath, and it's like she's on a kind of surfing a little bit on some ice, it looks like. And yeah, the detail on her hair is great. All the little bits of armor, because it's obviously book 3 Katara. Great choice. The only problem is the face, and this is, I think, consistently been one of the problems we've seen across any attempt to capture the Avatar figures, Avatar characters in figures or statues, is that a lot of the times the face doesn't look that great. And I think there's elements of this that are really good in the face, but I think, you know, I'll get into it later on with some more kind of close-up analysis, but it doesn't quite look right. It's not like terrible, it's not super off, but something feels off to me when I look at this. It doesn't look as bad from this angle, but that's because you're not seeing the face as close on. So this gives you just a slightly different angle on it to see the full scope of the effect part. So it is a very complex, you know, molding here on this effect. There's a lot going on here with the water bending, but I think it looks really good. And then here's a shot from sort of the other angle. So, you know, maybe I wish you'd seen a few more angles of the figure, but still, I think it looks very good overall. It's just the face that's a little bit, to me, of a problem. So to highlight this, I actually opened up here in like, image editing software. So here's obviously one of those pictures in the background, so you can see the figure this face of the figure. And then they just got a few sort of kind of keyframe shots from episodes of Katara. Now obviously this one here is the book 3 Katara. It's the one that obviously fits kind of most directly, the exact same hairstyle. This is kind of what they're going off. This is also book 3 Katara, but like earlier on, slightly different hairstyle in the Fire Nation. And here's sort of like end of book 1 Katara. But still, it gives you a look at her face compared to what we have here. So immediately you can sort of see what the one slight issue would be, that her I suppose irises and pupils are kind of too big within the eye compared to typically the size of the eyes in Avatar. Now obviously this changes depending on what animation company does it, in that JM Animation is the main animation studio, which I think most of these shots are from, and they are the most sort of on model. They are usually what you picture in your head when you think of the characters. But certain episodes done by the other animation companies look pretty on model. Some of them don't quite look as on model, and so you get sort of slight variations and stuff like that, in that probably this one here looks the most different, but they're both from JM Animation episodes, just highlighting the difference in animators on each episode. But the main thing I think you can see here is obviously that this is trying to portray the character as like a sort of like 3D physical model. This is 2D. The one thing that's difficult to maybe get a sense of from the actual shots from the show is that sort of more 3D look to her face, which I think is where the problems kind of are on the figure, is that almost from like a 2D perspective, it looks pretty solid. The shaping is sort of there, outside of obviously like I said, the irises are a little big for the eyes, but like the nose is pretty much correct. She has a bit of a sort of stern expression on her face because it's an action pose, so the eyebrows, I guess it makes sense. Also the mouth is open. But to me the problem here is that it feels like her like cheeks are kind of puffed out a little bit, and it makes her sort of jaw maybe be a little bit wide. And I think the fix for this would more be along the lines of, say, this, if I can try and roughly do this correctly. Just sort of smudge this in a little bit. I kind of messed it up there. Let me just try that again. So something along those lines of just pulling sort of in the sides of her face a little bit, so it doesn't look like her sort of cheeks are like puffed out so much, because you don't really get that effect from any of the shots here. But if I just kind of like undo those little edits I've changed, you can see that like it just makes the face seem really, really wide. Like there's all this kind of space sort of down here that almost kind of just doesn't really need to be there. Just like even shaving just a little bit off, it makes it look a decent bit better, much more like the character. Now again, how exactly they do that fix is probably much more complicated to do on an actual 3D model of the character, as opposed to just this like 2D look in an editing software. But it gives you the, I think, idea of, at least in my mind, where the figure is going a little bit wrong, and more of like, when I look at the figure, I want to see it look more like that and less like this. And even just doing the sort of undo there and redo, that is my edit, but it looks correct, and it looks like I'm editing a picture that's correct to make her cheeks actually look kind of wider just by undoing it. And I think that's probably the best way to say it. That this looks like the kind of problem, even though that's what it actually is, and that looks a little bit more correct, even though I'm just kind of smudging away some of her kind of the sculpting around the sides of her face. But yeah, again, I don't know if there's any room to like change any of this before it comes out. The thing with the Aang was that I think most people actually really liked it when it was announced, and I did too, and so there wasn't really any sense of criticism for it to really be changed. Like I said, when this first was announced, the main issue I had with this was just that I felt the expression on his face was a little stern. Like, I get it's meant to be an action pose, but like, it doesn't necessarily look like it's just Aang full on in battle. So I felt like him doing an airbending move like this, he would still kind of have a smile on his face, since it doesn't necessarily seem like they're portraying like the fight against Ozai when it's like super serious. And so there's that kind of just slight odd sense across both of the figures of portraying the characters in both like a very intense situation and not maybe more just having it be a little bit more neutral or slightly happy as the general pose. But I like the selection. You know, we've done Aang, we've done Katara. I'm guessing they'll either go into Zuko or Toph next, because they've done air, water. I guess they'll do fire and earth next to showcase, you know, what they can do with the effect parts and so on. And then we might get Ahsoka. I really like to see them do just like at the very least like a statue for each of the Team Avatar members, and then maybe round off with a Suki if they really want to. I'm maybe a little bit more understanding of why they maybe wouldn't feel a statue maybe of Suki would do as well, but at the very least the 5 main Team Avatar members I think they should do. Maybe Sokka and Suki on the same statue might be a way to do it, and that Sokka wouldn't need a giant effect part, and maybe you can have Sokka and Suki be in the same statue to get the effect, something like that. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this brand new Katara diorama, statue, whatever way you want to call it, part of the gallery diorama line for DiamondSelect. What are your thoughts on this? Are you going to be getting it? Have you ordered the Aang yet? Because I have this, and assuming the quality is good, I am probably going to order this. Actually, I'll just quickly, before we go, I'll open up the link to this here. So they're saying it's going to be available summer 2021. So obviously, this was realistically, I think, meant to be out like 2 months ago, but because of the delays, which have really hit things here, it hasn't come out yet. They're predicting summer 2021 for this, and I think that makes a lot more sense. So that should be, you know, fun when it comes out. But yeah, they're my thoughts on the figure. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.